Sorry, I'm laughing. Mr. Driscoll's saying my fiance loves Taylor Swift, but we know it's Mr. Driscoll loves Taylor Swift. Come on. What's the name of the album? Mr. Driscoll, I think it's Reputation, but he knows. He bought 5 copies. Welcome to the Super You Show. I'm your host, Erik Qualman. A lot of you know me as Equalman. This is the show where we give you 7 super tips to unlock and unleash your inner superpower. Today we are joined by the one and only Taylor Swift. And one of her tips is be different. And that's so salient in today's digital age where it's hard to stand out amongst all the noise. And she's a genius when it comes to digital marketing. For her latest release, Reputation, she deleted all of her social accounts for 3 months. And then she just posted 1 picture for the release of that album. So we have a lot to learn from Taylor Swift. So without further ado, here are her 7 super tips.
I started singing when I was a baby, but I decided that this was it when I was like 10, and started dragging my parents to festivals and fairs and karaoke contests like every single weekend. And then when I was 11, I was like, Mom, we have to go to Nashville. That's where they all go. That's where Faith Hill went and the Dixie Chicks, and they all went to Nashville. So I made up this demo CD of me singing karaoke music and went to Nashville with my mom, and she would like park outside record labels, and I would run in and be like, hey, I'm Taylor, I'm 11. I want a record deal, call me, you know. And that didn't work, obviously, but it did teach me that I needed to be different, you know, and that they saw that kind of thing every day. And so I went home and I started playing guitar for like 4 hours a day until my fingers were bleeding, and I started writing songs, you know, and that was really the reason why, you know, I guess I got noticed.
It's interesting because I think as a songwriter, you have your fans who have been keeping up with your music since before you were known. You know, my first album came out when I was 16. So I would write about my life as I saw it, as I felt it. And then what happens is as you get more successful, which you're lucky if that happens, you have more and more people paying attention to what you're doing. And you've been doing it the same way your entire career as a songwriter, but all of a sudden the perspective has changed. And they use kind of you writing songs about your life as a way to play detective. And for me, I have a really strict personal policy that I never name names. And so anybody saying that a song is about a specific person is purely speculating. And they're going to do that, but the most important thing for me is maintaining artistic integrity, which means as a songwriter, I still continue to write about my life. I could very well water it down, and I could just say like, you know, the sky is blue and now we're dancing and we're in a club and it's great. You're gonna have people who are going to see the depth from which you approached a song, the fact that you put, you know, your real emotions into it, and that's valuable and that's good and that's real. The biggest challenge of this year actually was convincing members of my own team that this was a good call. I'd get kind of called in front of a group of people who have known me and worked with me for years who would sit down and say, are you sure you want to call the album 1989? We think it's a weird title. Are you sure that you want to put an album cover out that has less than half of your face on it? Are you positive that you want to take a genre that you have that cemented yourself in and completely switch to a new one that you are a newcomer to? And answering all those questions with yes, I'm sure, that was, I think, something that really frustrated me at the time. Like, guys, don't you understand? I promise this is what I'm dying to do. The biggest kind of struggle turned into the biggest triumph when it worked out. The song, I started it as a joke. Honestly, I was kind of looking at this whole fictionalized version of my life that the media has portrayed, because I don't talk about my personal life, so they've kind of had to make one up for me. And I guess in the last couple of years, the story has been that I'm like a serial dater, and I like have all these boyfriends, and we're traveling around the world, and everything's great until I get over emotional and crazy and obsessive, and then they leave, and I'm devastated, and then I write songs to get emotional revenge because I'm psychotic. And you know, that character, if you think about it, if that's actually how I was, such a complex, interesting character to write from the perspective of. So I was kind of like, I could write a song from her perspective and see how it would turn out. And I all of a sudden started having so much fun writing these like zingers and one-liners that it ended up being one of the funniest songs on the record, and one of the songs that people actually gravitate towards, because it's kind of like, if you make the joke first and you make the joke better, then it's kind of like it's not as funny when other people call you a name. I think it's actually the most incredible thing to be able to reach that many people with one tweet or one Instagram post or one post on Tumblr. But one way I've started to use that in the last couple of months is I've just inserted myself into their online communities and like been in on their inside jokes and talked to them, not just like posting industry career centric things like vote for me for this or this is coming out now. Like I really want them to know that they're the only thing that makes me feel like my life is normal. Honestly, there's so many different abnormal circumstances surrounding my life that the only way I actually get to feel normal is when I go online and I read about their day at college. I mean, I'll say I'm going to bed and then I'll go up to my room and I'm just on Tumblr for an hour. Just like, I follow a bunch of fans on Tumblr and I just love, they're so funny. And I love that the internet has given people such a creative way to express who they are and to show their identity and to develop their sense of humor. And I just like, I have a really good time with it, and I think the more I've gotten comfortable with being myself and letting people know that I'm awkward sometimes and I'm not that cool and like I'm not edgy, I think the more you just be yourself and you kind of lead by example, the more my fans are cool with joking around with me and maybe living their lives more comfortable with the fact that they're not trying to be something they're not, because I'm not either. I hope I'll allow myself to age gracefully, and I hope that I will age without having a lot of anxiety about aging. Because I think a lot of people, especially people in the public eye, they tend to think that aging decreases your worth or decreases your relevancy or decreases the value on your thoughts. And I'm really hoping that with time I'll gain more wisdom and I will use it for good and not allow my brain to create all this anxiety about something that's going to happen to everybody. If I were to give advice to a girl or a woman wanting to get into the music industry, I think the first thing I would tell them is that, you know, you're going to have thousands of decisions to make on a daily basis that will end up depicting your image, your sound, all the things that will shape the public's perception of you as an artist. Let those decisions be your decisions. Don't let them be some man in a suit's decisions or some A&R guy wearing a beanie. Whether it's what you decide to wear, how you feel confident on stage, what you want your persona to be, what you want to stand for, what you want to stand up for. And most of all, creatively, I think you should steer the ship.
Thank you for joining us for today's Super You with Taylor Swift. My hope is that you got a ton out of her 7 super tips that are designed to unlock and unleash your inner superpower. That's it for today's show. Please subscribe to receive the next episode. Please also comment below on who we should sit down with next. This is your host, Equalman. Remember, until next time, it's not what we take from the world, it's what we leave behind. Thank you for joining us for today's Super You. I'm your host, Equalman. Oh, should I say with Taylor Swift? Thank you for joining us for today's Super You with Taylor Swift. My hope is that you got at least one tip. Well, I'll say blah, blah, blah. Should I say subscribe?